My friends, I am back. I am back on the podcast and I'm back in my new, to me, own house. We have finished finally running the race of moving what feels like constantly. I did the tally. I have lived in 10 homes in 10 months, and I am delighted to share with you that I am currently podcasting from a space that is mine for the next foreseeable future, several months, which is wonderful. I am so grateful. Thank you for your continued prayers. Today on the podcast, I'm going to be joined by my business partner, Stephanie Donahue, and we are going to be sharing about why two coaches are simply better than one and the brand new iteration of the Wealth Without Guilt Mastermind. That is what is coming up today on the Possibility Mom Live. So I've lived a lot of life in the last couple of months. I have grown a lot. There has been a tremendous amount of growth and intimacy with the Lord. And I do feel I've unpacked a lot of it here on the podcast. I feel like there is a lot more to unpack. I feel like I have a 17,000 volume book in me about the habit of trusting the Lord and what it looks like to trust the Lord and what it looks like to continue moving and breathing and walking when you frankly don't trust the Lord or are doubtful that this is all going to work out. I have had truly thousands of hours in the last little while of really putting these concepts to practice, and so I'm just grateful that this little portion has sort of come to an end. So meaning I am in one spot. I have signed a rental agreement. I am not going anywhere. My bed will remain in the same spot for at least the next for the duration of this rental. So I'm very, very, very grateful for that. At time of this podcast, I am 38 weeks pregnant. And so for those of you watching on YouTube, people on audio, you'll have to hop on over, but I'm standing up and I'm going to show you my enormous, we've got a belly. We've got a big belly. That baby has 100% dropped. Its little feet, I was just telling Stephanie before we went live, its little feet used to be kind of more up. I could feel them like sort of under my rib cage, so to speak, like so higher. And now I can feel its little tiny feet are more around my belly button. So that's a significant, 4 to 6 inch drop visually, where I can see and feel its little feet. So labor is imminent. If I could humbly ask you to continue keeping me and my family and this sweet baby in prayer for a healthy delivery and for all the things. And of course, in truly Canning Possibility Mom fashion form, we squeeze things in to the epic last moment of me going into labor. I tend to do some of my most meaningful work, I'll call it, I guess, or just I tend to do big work. Every time I have moved massively, so meaning when I moved into my first home in North York, I was about 8 months pregnant. When we moved to our next home in Thornhill, the one that we affectionately called the Canning Cabin, I was about 8-ish months pregnant. When we moved to Florida, similarly, I was very, very pregnant. And so this is just how the Cannings roll. But it's also how we do and launch big things. And so I'm very excited to bring onto the podcast today my beautiful friend, Stephanie Donahue, to share with you a new iteration of the Wealth Without Guilt Mastermind, as well as to talk about why two coaches are better than one. I want to encourage you to listen to this podcast if you're craving community. I want to encourage you to listen and pay attention to this podcast if you're curious about why a coach in your business could help you, if it's not today, but in the future. And I want to encourage you to listen to this podcast because I truly do believe we are more effective when we're in community. I believe that we can get a lot done on our own, certainly. But what this last few months of experience of moving, of all the things, it is just when we can share the cross, it is easier. When we can share our crosses, there can be a significant amount of relief. And so I invite you to listen to this podcast, whether you're in business or not, whether you are just starting out or are very, very seasoned. Pay attention to what we've got today. And here comes the beautiful Stephanie Donahue. Stephanie, how are you doing today?
Hi, Lisa. Good. I'm so happy to be here with you.
You are wearing my favorite color on you, this beautiful purple.
You bought me the sweater.
I did.
Yes.
Well,
my clothing stylist.
The Possibility Mom Incorporated, TPM Inc. bought you that sweater, but yes, I selected it with my two hands. We are coming off of meeting each other in real life for the first time. And just really quick, I had the pleasure of being on Catholic Women in Businesses mastermind community this past week. And Taryn DeLong and Elise Gallagher Crawford, who founded that organization, they started that during the pandemic, and they are only meeting in real life this weekend. So wow. They're a little bit faster than that. Like we've met within 1 year of getting together and collaborating on some things. But for anyone who might not know you, many people listening to this podcast will be familiar because you've been on the podcast a few times. But for anyone who might not know you, can you please introduce yourself?
Okay. My name is Stephanie Donahue. I'm from the state of Washington, but I say Portland, Oregon, because I basically live near Portland, Oregon. And I live here in the mountains with my husband and 3 children. And we are, I'm cradle Catholic, and I'm really proud of my faith. And my stronger sensing of like my mission in life is really to help support Catholic business owners, grow the Catholic economy, and it just gets stronger and stronger by the day. I was a nurse for 10 years, but then I started homeschooling and then eventually blogging, which brought me into the world of marketing and operations for everything online that I do now. And that was back in 2017. And so I started quickly transitioning to serving people on the back end of their business once I realized I was pretty good at that. And so that's what I've been doing all this time. And that's eventually how I met up with Lisa a year ago. But
there's so much to your story that we could unpack. But what I'm going to do is encourage people to go listen to a podcast episode, and I will pull it up and put it in the notes. We did a podcast episode together where we really unpacked a little bit your journey of embracing your Catholic identity and embracing it very publicly. You had a similar-ish story to mine where you were more of a secular coach. Like you were just a coach like lots of other coaches out there, or practicing your business in a way that maybe compartmentalized your Catholic faith, right? Oh, I'm Catholic over here, but over here it's okay that I'm, working with these kinds of businesses. And you had a very similar story to mine where you realized that things had to be a bit more integrated. And so I want to encourage people, we will put that specific podcast in the notes because it's a really, really good one. We have a lot of similar experiences in the secular business world. So unbeknownst to us, we went to all the same conferences, and I still haven't pieced together, we need to make an actual timeline. Like, were you actually at this conference, or, did we kind of miss each other? But I'm almost positive we were at Stu McLaren's Tribe at the same time. Did we ever establish this?
Or I don't think so. I was there in 2018.
I went every single year. And so I'm almost positive we were there at the same time. But I'm not active. Because when I see your pictures, I'm like, wait a minute, I was on that cruise too, but he did the same cruise 2 years in a row. So I'm like, wait a minute, was that from the year before? But anyway, my point is we were in a lot of the same people's worlds, and deep in the communities, but we kind of never connected at that point. And then you sent me a message. And I actually want to pull it up. And so for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can actually see the text message that I'm going to read. And those of you who are listening, I'm going to just read it for you now. So Stephanie sent me this message. And what's the date of this message again?
It was October 1st, 2022.
And she says, "Hi, Lisa. I just found you from watching a YouTube interview with the Catholic CEO, Henry Katarna, who's been on this podcast as well. I've been hoping for a community for mindset support that had shared values, and your Wealth Without Guilt sounds like a great fit. I'm creating my dream of hosting a Catholic mastermind for online business owners, which I've had on my heart for several years now. And my prayer is to have the courage to keep going since it scares me. I work in the back end as the business and launch manager, supporting coaches and course creators, and I'm not used to being visible. I just made a big purchase last night, so I didn't sign up today, but I have my eyes set on joining you soon. Thanks so much for creating your content and programs for people like me." So you sent me that message and then began our relationship together. And I just want to share with people what happened. You purchased a program that I was running. It was a 90-day challenge, and it was like $99 a month. So you invested a little bit of money with me. Then I invited you to join my mastermind, which at the time I was running on my own. And that was, I want to say, about a $2,500 investment, if my memory serves. And I remember you paid in full. So then you joined me in that. And what was interesting, right? So this all is post-October. This is all post-October, so just about a year. Right now, at time of recording, we're November 2023. So this is about a year. You participated in my mastermind, and I remember we had like a shift where I was reading your stuff and I was coaching you on your unique call to sanctity and what you're supposed to do with your time. And I just was like, I'm pretty sure she's supposed to work with me. And I remember I felt so awkward about it, Stephanie, because I was like, this is so weird. She's paying me to be her coach. But now I'm like, can you just come with me and I'll pay you? And we're kind of like just moot pointing each other's contributions to each other. You know what I mean? Like, and I felt really awkward because I was like, this is sort of a conflict of interest, but I can't not see it. You don't want to be visible. Like, you actually prefer to be on the back end. I love being visible. It's like my number one motivator. And it just really became apparent we were supposed to do something else. And so we launched the Wealth Without Guilt Mastermind in its, in its current form or its previous form, and have worked with some beautiful women. And we hosted a live event together, Wealth Without Guilt Live. We met for the first time there. And so it's just been a dream to work with you truly. And now we're moving in to a new season, Stephanie. So I really wanted to take this time on the podcast today to just talk about the new season, but also talk about what this has been like for you. You've come on this podcast and interviewed me, but I actually want to hear from you. And this is the first question that I guess I'll pause and invite you to respond. What has the last year meant to you?
It's brought my business vision to life. I truly feel like it has come to fruition. That message where I'd mentioned that I have this Catholic mastermind on my heart, that I'm doing it now. And the people that I imagined helping, I've been helping. And it's truly been just a glow, a joy that just resonates with just everything. It's beautiful. I love it.
I think many people can relate to the feeling of a dream, right? Like, I think probably everyone listening to this podcast has a dream in their heart that would be so much fun to accomplish. And I think a lot of people can relate to the feeling of maybe fear of going after it or frustration when it doesn't work. But you largely made come true, so to speak. I'm using that language in air quotes, like come true. Like you participated with the Lord. That's a little bit more accurate. You participated with the Lord with this dream that was clearly in you to start a Catholic mastermind. And then you actually did it. You realized it. That's the part that I think a lot of people maybe don't get to. or they get frustrated along the way, or things happen and they give up, what have you, right? So what does it feel like to have actually accomplished it?
Yeah, you know, the feeling is really wonderful, and I thank God. I do give all praise and glory to God because truly it is His gift. But I think one thing that I just keep realizing that I've done is just being able to persevere and really realizing that this is God's plan and wanting to be an instrument, you know, being open to what He is asking of me. And that's the thing is I never, even though I said that message that this was a dream on my heart and stuff, I don't like bargain with God or like say this must happen or you know what I mean, like give Him my terms. It truly does try. I really try to work with what He's asking of me, and you know, even on the daily, it's like, Lord, what do you want of me now? Is it the same? Is it going to change? And that really helps to just continue to work with Him um, for a happier life, honestly, for more interior peace.
You are much better at this part than I am. I don't bargain with the Lord, but I definitely make my opinions known. Like I am definitely like a hard-headed toddler, like I have described it on this podcast. I will throw it down with him and be like, why is this not working out? You are a little bit less, I think, demanding. Like, and I think it's our temperaments too, right? I'm very choleric, sanguine. You are definitely melancholic. Which other way do you go?
Yeah, I'm melancholic choleric.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can definitely see that part too. But you are definitely a little more, I'm gonna say patient. Would you say that's the right word? The best
Yes.
word? Like you are a little bit more patient when it comes to challenge than I am. And I really appreciate that about you. I throw it down. You kind of sometimes go a little bit more internal. Like you'll get a little bit more quiet. Whereas I'm just like, I am mad. This isn't working. I am mad. And this is why I think two coaches are better than one. You know, and that's when I was thinking about what I wanted to call this podcast today and sort of frame the conversation around. Is that we can be habitually inclined is how I'm going to phrase it. What I've learned about the last few months of my life and some of the significant and actual real struggles that me and my family have, where the Lord has allowed. And that's another thing I've been really exploring lately. This notion of permissive will. So what does God permit? But then what does He actively give you? I've been really reflecting on that. The Lord's active will. And if I did not surround myself in community, if I did not share some of the struggles and my throw it down kind of feelings about it, I really do feel like life would be a lot harder. There is just so much benefit in being able to share crosses, whether they be personal or business. And so, Stephanie, I'd love to just sort of hear your perspective on that on a personal level for you. What has it been like to do business a little bit more together than alone?
Yeah, you know, I love collaborating. I love working. I'm a team player. That's something that I've always done. Like whenever I've enjoyed working, it's always I've noticed that there's themes. It's always been working with somebody or being in a community with other people, like-minded people. And so I see these things and I realize that I really do need that to operate at my best. So that's why I plug into certain things. That's why I like to work with somebody like Lisa, who's a visionary CEO who likes to be the face of a company, because I know that I complement that person very, very well to do all the things that aren't that they don't like to do. And so and then also just that community aspect. That's why when I first decided to start a blog online, I immediately plugged into a course that had a community of people that were all trying to blog and be professional bloggers. And so that really like go-getter spirit to like be the best blogger. Like I saw that, and it really helped me to propel with my craft. And then when I realized that I wanted to be really good at operations, I plugged into a director of operations certification with an amazing community of high achieving women who are really great at that craft. And so all these times, like whenever I realize that I need to do better, or I'm hurting, like I need to up level my skill, I find where those people are that are really good at it or are actively seeking it, and I plug myself into that. And that's exactly what I did with the Wealth Without Guilt community. Is when I realized that I wanted to be around Catholic women business owners and really succeed. I found Lisa.
It's you can try to go it alone. And again, I'm going to speak a little bit. Obviously, the topic of this podcast today is to introduce this mastermind, but I've been through a lot in the last little while. And so, of course, I can't help but like unpack and process. And I process so much out loud here on this podcast. And so this really does go for personal as well. Sharing the cross to me is just simply a non-negotiable, but that wasn't always the case for me. Before, I was very prideful. I mean, I still am very prideful, but it was, again, habitually inclined. No, you don't share when you struggle. No, you put on a brave face. Like those were sort of messages that definitely were deeply and still are embedded in me. And I've had to unlearn that. And my spiritual director this morning, he reminded me, I was just talking about a particular trial that I'm the trial has not left trial has not left the Canning family. They're just different, looking different. And he was like, look at Jesus, particularly in the Good Friday, like, so not all the events, but like leading up to Good Friday, but particularly in the carrying of the cross. Number one, he accepted help. So that's like very clear. But number two, what my spiritual director encouraged me today, particularly, was that it's just one step at a time. Like he took one step at a time. He fell 3 times. He paused and met the women. He was like, really reflect. Like it was not a sort of fast, like he had it, he dragged it, and then he was crucified. It was a step at a time. And I would say in your personal life or in business, especially, like think about how many steps there are in launching a new business, Stephanie. I couldn't come up with the number off the top of my head right this second, but you're registering a domain name, and then you're connecting that domain name to your website, and then you're actually building a website, and then there's usually 30 different assets on a website where 30 different things can go wrong, where a button can be wrong. Like you can go, and I haven't even, that's just like one portion. That's just like getting a website. Now let's figure out what's going on the website, and like spelling mistakes, and are we speaking the language of our person and whatnot. Like there truly are, at minimum, like 100 steps maybe to launch a business. And actually we've outlined them. We've outlined a lot of these specific steps in our Saintly Success Path in the new iteration of the Wealth Without Guilt Mastermind. But to bring it back to this sort of carrying the cross together, those 100 steps, let's just call it arbitrarily, super easy to give up. But what happens when you surround yourself, Stephanie, with people, with partners that are kind of like doing the same thing, but also get it? What happens then?
Yeah, it's something that I've always that I really like to focus on is doing this together, and it just becomes so much lighter, easier, fun. But one thing that you've taught me, actually, Lisa, is doing that also in your spiritual life, and because I've always been very private when it comes to my spiritual life. It's like me and the Lord, you know what I mean? Like, but then you actually, when I actually opened up to you about my interior life, you're like, why don't you share with people your cross? Like it can actually lighten the load. And I had never thought of it that way. And in my head, it was always me and my cross. This is my cross to bear. And when I actually started asking people for prayers and sharing that I needed help and through prayer, that actually it worked. It actually did feel lighter, the burden.
And I'll be honest with you, Stephanie, my experience with this is anecdotal. I am sure there's something in the catechism we could look up on why one should share the cross. And I'm sure there have been some saints that have gone before us who have talked about it. I don't have that reference off the top of my head. My experience with this is purely anecdotal, but it happened only recently. I did not share my crosses with people before. I just didn't. Even with my husband, I would just a lot of it I would internalize, and a lot of it I would feel bad for. So meaning I would tell myself, like, you really shouldn't feel this way. It's only been, and again, I don't know, I'm just going to get real personal. This is why I think the Lord has allowed a lot of the suffering in my life, because I think he really wants me to not be so insular about it. Like, not only rely on him and relent and really, like, get rid of this ungodly self-reliance that is a real struggle for me, but to also just involve others and allow people to love me, allow people to care. That's been a really big theme of the last year. Anyways, this podcast got a lot more sensitive than pictured it getting, but just truly, business for some people is what's going to make them holy. And I think that's also something I fought talking about, because it felt weird. Like, it felt like, no, you don't mix business and holiness. That's not. In the first place, I heard it a little bit more plain, let's say, is from Father Nathan from the St. John Institute. Forgive me, Father Nathan, if I'm messing up where you're from. But on one of my podcasts, that was what he ended his interview. He was like, success in business is holiness. And I had truly just never heard anyone say it that plainly. Success in business is holiness. Yes. Do we want money? Yes. Do we want impact? Do we want email lists? 100%. And it's not to say you don't get those things or you don't chase those things. Those are an outcome of business. But what if, and this is what I think the last 2 years for me, particularly, Stephanie, has been about really learning this. What does that phrase really mean? And where I've landed on it is that for some people, marriage will be a cross. For some people, parenthood will be very, very difficult, and where you will become so holy. But I think for me, if you were to go, like, of these three things, marriage, parenthood, and business, what is the hardest? I would say for me, business is the hardest. It's the most fun. It's the most, like, where I get a lot of my just joy and excitement. My eyes twinkle when I think about business. But it also is, for me, the area where I have to rely on the Lord the most. It's the area where I can be tremendously hard on myself, and where I can be the most self-reliant. And so for me, that's what true success in business is holiness really means. It's like, that's where my relenting of self-reliance is really being refined, like where it's actually happening, where I'm living it out. It's not just a concept. So I'm going to pose this back to you. When you hear this phrase, real success in business is holiness, what does that stir up for you?
Yeah, I've been contemplating this because you talk about it quite a bit. And so that's the thing is, I actually feel the opposite, that you mentioned that the marriage and parenthood could be heavier. For me, it is much heavier. And so, like, doing business, for me, I totally agree with you about growing in holiness, because pretty much anything you do, you have to deny yourself, you have to, be corrected and all these things, do hard things, taking action when you don't want to. And so, but when it comes to business, for me personally, I feel like it's God's gift to me to lighten my load.
Interesting.
because I actually thrive in business. I love it. It's so enjoyable for me, and I would do it even if I didn't need to. Like it's just something that I really truly enjoy. I enjoy being on podcasts with you. I enjoy helping somebody optimize their funnel. I enjoy helping reading someone's emails to see if they are going to convert. Like for me, that's truly enjoyable. And just strategizing another marketing campaign, like all those things, like where I get to use my brain, and it's just so enjoyable that I feel like for me personally, I'm so committed to my marriage and parenting and my faith. These are like solid rocks in my life that they're core values that are so important to me. But because they're so important to me, I feel like God gave me the ability to do business, to say, you know what, this is for you to have some fun in your life. Because I truly enjoy it.
That is so interesting. I love that so much. I don't picture either of us ever not doing this. My husband and I have had very frank conversations about this. Like, and discernment is always where I begin a conversation of coaching. Like, it's a massive piece to this. But I think we're very similar, Stephanie. I can't picture either of us never doing this because it's a great deal of fun. Let's talk about this new iteration of the Wealth Without Guilt Mastermind. So we ran the mastermind. I ran the mastermind on my own. You were a participant. I learned your unique call to sanctity, a worksheet or an exercise that Metanoia Catholic developed that I use with all my people. I learned via that exercise that you are made to work with me. Like literally, I was just like, I think we're really made to work together. So can we both discern what this could look like? We ran 2 iterations of the mastermind. Correct me if I'm wrong on these details, but we ran 2 iterations. If I'm not mistaken, together, and we have learned a ton.
Yeah, it's been one.
It's only been one?
Yeah, a 6-month iteration.
We've only done one together?
I did one where you led, and then we did one together.
Huh.
Because it's been a year.
Oh, you're right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that makes sense. So you participated with me for 6 months, and then we moved into a new one together. Oh, it feels like you've been in my life for so long that we've done so much more than we have. So we learned a lot in this combined iteration. And we learned what moves the needle forward for some people and what, perhaps for some people it does, but for some people it doesn't. We've learned a lot about motivations, I would say, in the last 6 months, and why motivations are really important. And I think we've just learned also to just what are the straight up tactics that if one actually followed would get a person visible, would launch an offer, and have a lot of clarity that other people are willing to buy it because it's very clear. And so we have created a new version of the Wealth Without Guilt Mastermind that I'm so excited to talk about on the podcast today. I'm going to bring up my screen and walk through what we've got going on this time around. But Stephanie, while I do that, what are you most excited about in this new iteration?
I'm really excited about the success path because for those who like checklists or a roadmap, we've created this for you. Like to say, how do I do this?
And it is like a list. It was funny as I was verbalizing, like, how many steps is it? I was like, oh, wait, we actually did create. We basically created the list. Like, I actually could go and count all of the tactics and literally come up with how many steps is it to launch a business. So I want to invite you to look at the link at thepossibilitymom.com/WWG mastermind. It is in the show notes right below this video or wherever you are listening to it online. But I want to point out our success path. And again, this came out of really paying attention to our people This has come out of even me getting into the work of the Guiding Star Project and now having to market as well as explain the value of an organization that isn't just me, right? This has come from Stephanie's brain and her wisdom of working on the back end of so many other people's businesses as a launch strategist and as a funnel expert. And so, Stephanie, walk us through what people are seeing on this screen, the saintly success path. Let's break it down one letter at a time. So what does it begin with? It's an acronym, saintly. What does saintly begin with?
Saintly begins with sanctify.
And what are we doing when we are sanctifying?
Yeah, so you're aligning your business with your unique call to sanctity and also your motivations, your temperaments. And this is where you really define, like, why am I doing this? How can I serve the Lord best? And so that can really dial in, like, that's a really important mindset piece as well, because that will shape the trajectory going forward.
And in this particular phase of the success path, we are looking for people to complete the following milestones. So we want people to have a clear understanding of their unique call to sanctity. And we're having you do a couple things like learn about your temperaments, take your motivation code, and learn your spiritual gifts, and combining all of those things together to understand how you are truly made. We want to ensure that your unique call to sanctity is reflected in your irresistible offer. So what you're going to put out into the world as your one of your core offerings in your business, are we ensuring that the way that you are delivering that program, as well as the way you're running your business, and that's the third milestone we really want people to understand. If you are a sanguine like me, then we want you with people. But if you're a melancholic, we want to make sure that there's actually some of that baked in quiet, reflective time. We don't want to fight the way you've been designed. We actually want to work with the way that the Lord has equipped you with unique skills. We want you to have belief. That's one of our big milestones. We want you to have belief in your ability to trust the Lord with your business and your activities. And we want you to have a sense that your activities are again in line with your unique design. And one of the things that we're doing this time that's a little bit different is we want to ensure you have gone through my business buffet. So we are leaning on that resource that I created, which is another acronym, but very the real nuts and bolts of running a personal brand online. All righty. What is the next phase of our saintly success path, Stephanie?
Amplify. So you're amplifying your messaging, and that is really key to really finding your voice and also building your audience so that you become more visible.
And visibility, we've learned, is something that people can struggle with immensely if they have not addressed certain things in their central nervous system. Y'all know that I'm so sensitive about these things. If you have not even just developed the basic skills of getting visible, like, for example, leveraging something like Instagram stories or leveraging other tools at your disposal to get more visible. And so the milestones of the amplify phase are you have done some market research. So you know that you're in reality, you're like acting in reality that this thing that you want to launch is actually for people. You are confident in communicating it because you've done it wrong a bunch of times. Just real quick personal story. In my work as president of the Guiding Star Project, I had to get it wrong a lot of times. And that became really clear when I started like going to conferences and representing the community, the Guiding Star community, I mean, to other people who didn't know us. The more I fumbled my words, the more I got clear on this is the way to communicate what we do in a succinct way. We are going to help you master show and tell content. So meaning What are the things your people actually struggle with? How can we help you show and tell that you're the expert to help them? And we're going to master techniques like an elevator pitch, telling your origin story, and getting really comfortable doing this online. Aren't these fun, Stephanie? These are
Oh, so fun.
they're so
Yes.
much fun. What's the next phase of our saintly success path?
Okay, ignite. So that is where you really take your messaging to the next level and really start connecting with your audience through content.
And this is where we want to ensure. So the milestones of this phase are that you have a lead magnet, you have something that actually converts. So people are willing to click on it and they're willing to give their email in exchange for said content. We want to ensure that you have a website that can actually deliver said lead magnet and that there is a way that people can actually get it via email. So you're not manually doing it. It's an automated way that this piece of content is landing of the night. You can be growing your audience, and we're going to test it to ensure that it actually is helping people by ensuring we're getting some testimonials about said lead magnet. That is our that's our ignite phase. Okay, moving on to the N in Saintly, Stephanie. What are we doing in the nurture phase?
Nurture is about really growing your email list and really connecting and building that relationship with your email subscribers.
Amazing. So in this milestone, we want to ensure that you have an email list. And if you don't have one, we are going to help you make one. And we're looking for you to get to 300 emails. That's our goal, our first goal for you. 300 emails on your email list. If you already have an email list in the Wealth Without Guilt Mastermind, we're going to help you increase it by at least 25%. We want to ensure that you are communicating with your email list. So we're going to help you communicate weekly. And we're going to give you some things to look for to, again, measure the success of your email efforts. So, for example, are you getting replies? And if you're not, we're going to help you navigate what to do if you don't. What's next in Saintly, Stephanie?
Transform. So you're actually looking at your offers and really dialing them in and seeing your business strategies to say, okay, so is this still what's best for my audience, and really honing that in.
In this one, we're looking at you having a sales page. So you're communicating an offer and it's on the internet. We want to ensure it's actually converting, and we have some strategies and things to test if it is actually converting. We want you to actually, again, receive feedback that this thing, this product, this service, this offering you've created is actually working. And so we want to make sure you're getting testimonials. And if you're not, we're going to navigate why. Next phase in the Saintly success path, Stephanie, is
to launch your product or your services out into the world. And we would love to have you do that through a sales event.
Stephanie and I are both obsessed with launching. So Stephanie has formal certification as a launch coach. I have launched, I don't know how many things. I've launched so many things, both for myself and for my clients. And so we want you to have within the container of our mastermind launched an event. We want to launch you as soon as Black Friday 2023. PS, for those of you who are ready, we want you to have at least one funnel. We want your funnel to be converting. And ultimately, we want you to have made money and gotten into the habit of debriefing and tweaking if you have not, or even if you have. And then finally, the why in Saintly is, Stephanie?
Yield. So that's where you're refining and looking at your strategies. And so you're looking at your more of the back end operations things, and really taking a look at everything you've done and really refining that and looking at the strategies to go forward.
So in this one, this is where I'm particularly selfishly very excited. Like, meaning, I think this is what makes a business truly a business and not a hobby. And so the milestones that we are going to be having people meet in the Wealth Without Guilt Mastermind new iteration is that you have a clear sense of your monthly operating expenses. You have a sense of your profitability. So, are you actually making money? You know what a profit and loss statement is and how to read it. And you have a plan now for how to maximize and scale. And what we really want to get you at, for those of you who are just starting out, now, if you're a little bit more advanced, it'll be a little bit different for you. But we want you to be making enough money to cover your daily operations, because then you're a business that is profitable. Like, this is like really key. And then we want you to have, of course, recouped your investment in the mastermind. Stephanie, this is, I think, the thing that you and I are both most excited about. I think we're both really excited about the actual success path, so that we have outlined this. And again, like I said, I'm going to count it because I think it's like 100. Like, if I really were to count it, what are the different steps that people need to go through? But I think we're also, both of us, equally as excited about the success guarantee. And so, Stephanie, do you want to share with our people what this success guarantee looks like?
Yeah. So we've created a success guarantee to basically we're saying, we're gonna help you to recoup the investment of this mastermind. And by working with you through a year during this year program, through these the success path with the milestones that you'll accomplish during that time. And then if for some reason it's taking a longer for your business to get to the stages where you haven't met that financial goal, we'll continue to work with you until you do.
We really believe that if you were to follow the stages of our success path, and I think I missed it when I was reading there. One critical element that is part of our success path is creating regular content. I know I mentioned content, but that's a really important part. We want you to create regular, long form content. And that's a big part of where we see our people having success, when that content is ongoing and perpetual, so to speak, like, meaning it doesn't disappear. It's not an Instagram story that disappears. It's on there. We do see that as a really big piece of your success puzzle and visibility. And so we just really wanted to make this as simple as possible, especially in today's economy where there is a lot of, ways that you could be spending your money, where there are demands on a family. We just wanted to make this as simple as humanly possible for you to feel like, wow, not only is this a lot of value, but we're actually mitigating the risk. And so as long as you are able to do the things in the mastermind, and feel free to read the description, we have a few conditions. Like, for example, you need to remain in the mastermind for the full year, and there's just some activities that we will require you to hit to honor the guarantee. But if you hit all those requirements, we will continue working with you until you recoup that investment.
Yeah, for those of you who love a checklist like myself, then we have a tracker. We're calling it the St. Lee Success Path Tracker. And that really helps you to see, where am I at? Am I doing these things? You're going to start with a list of things that we recommend. But then what we're going to do as you go through the Sanctified Success Path, we're going to help you to see, okay, let's customize this for you, for your success.
And, I could go on and on about all the other things that I'm excited about. Like, for example, you're going to get a free ticket to our live event, still to be determined where it's going to be hosted in 2024. At the live event, you're going to get headshots. This was a super fun perk of 2024. 2023's event. Like, we brought in Laura Ann Smid, who is this incredibly talented, mainly wedding photographer, but the portraits this woman is able to take, she makes you feel so comfortable. And I think really captures the personalities of our people. Oh, she's just, I invite you to go look on my Instagram at Lisa Canning at some of the recent images that I've been sharing there. And that's all Laura Ann. Like, she's just so talented. So, and we throw in hair and makeup. Like, honestly, a lot of these things are the full value of the mastermind. Like, your photos, like, to get professional photos done, branded professional photos, like, you're looking like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Like, Laura Ann charges in the thousands for these branding packages. So that there is a significant portion. When I was mindset coaching one-on-one, more exclusively, it was $1,000 a month to coach with me one-on-one, and you're getting that. And then some. You're getting not just me as your coach, but you're getting Stephanie, who is obsessed with metrics and obsessed with systems.
I can't get over that, honestly. Okay, so when I met Lisa, I considered working with her one-on-one. It was $3,000 for 3 months, was the package that I think I remember at the time. And so $1,000 a month to get, for me, it was mindset coaching that I was seeking. And now, like, for $1,000 a month, you get practically unlimited one-on-one coaching with 2 coaches, a mindset coach who's also amazing with business strategy and also marketing campaigns, and then myself, who is obsessed with marketing strategy and campaigns and launches and
details. Let's just be very honest. Like, you are way more detail oriented than I am. Like, you do not let anything really, like, you don't let things slip through the cracks. Like, the sanguine in me forgets things all the time. You are very, very detail oriented. So you're getting 2. And this is why I think 2 coaches is better than 1. Like, you really, to be able to have that sort of holistic, well-rounded experience in a coaching container, I think is very valuable, whether you are first starting out or you are down the road a little bit. So far, the people who have signed up for this round of the mastermind are mixed in their experience. So we have some who have a lot of experience and have made money, and we have some who are perhaps a little bit more on the beginner. They've made some money, but are looking forward to making more. And so we really, I think, just the big thing that I think you'll gain, that we have received feedback on, is the encouragement and support you get from the women in addition to the tactics. So you're going to find a very Catholic container to be with regularly and to support you in all facets of mindset and strategy in a business. It's so much fun. Stephanie, any final thoughts about the mastermind and why someone might want to discern at this particular time in history, coming up to the end of 2023, why would someone want to discern this right now, today?
Yeah, if this is something that you are really thinking about, that you're like, okay, business has been difficult on my own, I'm just not getting where I need to go, or I've been working with another coach and they just don't get me, or I just conflict with their personality, whatever that reason may be, I invite you to really, you can book a call with Lisa and discuss if this is something that is a right fit for you. But one thing that Lisa just touched on is the community. And that's the thing, is, if anything else, like, just the price tag to be in a container with other devout Catholic women who are moms, who get you, who are on the same, to have the same goals and aspirations. I mean, like, we're such a sliver of, of society, that people that actually understand, what we do. It's just, it just makes business so much lighter. Life feels lighter when you just have people to just share this with. It's just, that's honestly my favorite part of the whole mastermind.
So discernment is always the beginning of these conversations. We invite you to discern. Yes, we've got a couple bonuses. If you join us before if you join us before Monday, November 13, we've got two options for a bonus. One option, and you have to pick one. Option one is I have a limited number of spots for building out a Kartra website. This is something in the past I've charged $3,000 for. We're going to make you a 3-page website for free by joining by Monday. So that's option number one. You got to pick one. Okay. Option number two, let's just say you are not on Kartra or you already have a website and this is a little bit more appealing for you. The other thing we're going to do that we're offering is planning and executing, like helping you execute. You're going to have to obviously like do it, but like we will help you execute a Black Friday 2023 offer, meaning we'll write your copy, we'll come up with the offer, we'll help you on the back end if you need it in terms of the tech element. I'm going to personally write your emails. All of those emails that some people find very arduous. I love writing sales emails. I'm going to give you a plan. Again, you're going to have to actually do it. So meaning you're going to have to actually pull out your phone and record the videos and stuff, but I'm going to give you a plan for how to market your Black Friday. And we're going to do this all in a way that has been extremely beneficial for me, made me thousands of dollars in the past with different Black Friday campaigns, has been so successful for Stephanie's clients. And we're going to do this all real quick. So you might be able to recoup the value of your mastermind very quickly, right? So those are the two options. And while we have these options for bonuses and they go away Monday, of course, discernment is your paramount invitation. So we want to invite you to discern this. If you're watching this live, just Instagram message me at Lisa Canning. We can set up a quick time to chat over the weekend. It doesn't have to take away from family time. Like we just real quick, we'll talk about it, or we can voice memo back and forth to see if this is a fit. But if you are serious about joining a mastermind, if you are tired of doing business alone, if you just honestly want to speed up the process a little bit rather than searching for everything on your own, take advantage of the fact that Stephanie and I have already done this. We've already put it into an organized fashion. And we're going to continue to help you and hold you accountable. And you're going to be in a community with people who get you and love you and want you to succeed, not just in your bank account, but succeed in growth and virtue and your walk to heaven. You know, this notion of perishable crowns has been very like on my heart. It's like there are things that we prepare for that are of this world that will go away, that don't come with us to heaven. And there are things that we carry with us internally. Again, active will versus permissive will. The Lord sometimes gives us trial, and it might be in for you business, or it might be in marriage, or it might be in motherhood. But let's share the cross. And our women share the crosses that are personal too. This is not just my funnel didn't convert. No, that's stuff like my kids in the hospital, my baby's in the NICU. I'm having a real hard time with my marriage. Like it's all that stuff too. We're going to support you with all of it. I will coach you in all of it. Stephanie, any final words before we say goodbye today?
Oh no, this is great. Thank you for the opportunity to have me on the podcast.
I love you. And the final thing I'll say is that you sent me that message October 2023. We are now 13 months past that message. And so much has happened in a year. You got coached. We launched a mastermind together. We have helped the women in that mastermind make money, grow their influence, grow their impact, journey in camaraderie and solidarity. And if you feel called to join us, we invite you to discern that opportunity, and we will very enthusiastically save you a spot. A lot can happen in a year. A lot of money can be made in a year, and a lot of impact can happen in a year. So, invitation for discernment, you can go to the link below, which is learn.thepossibilitymom.com/WWG mastermind. That's learn.thepossibilitymom.com/WWG mastermind to get all the details, and just click the button apply to talk to me. If you don't see a time in the calendar that works for you this weekend, just message me on Instagram at Lisa Canning, and we'll just talk, whenever we can. We'll make a time. All righty, Stephanie, always a pleasure to spend time with you. And everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. The next time we get together, I'm so curious. I'm wondering if I'll have a baby. I typically go early. I have a baby now, but I mean, the baby will be out. So stay tuned. I'll tell you all on Instagram if I'm actually in labor and what happens. But we will see what happens the next time we get together here on the Possibility Mom Live. Thanks so much for your prayers, and we'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye.